Wonderful Life, directed by Frank Capra, is the quintessential must-see Christmas movie. The ending never fails to make me cry. I have never felt so attached to a character as George Bailey. His journey through that film is an absolute masterpiece in screenwriting and performance. George Bailey truly represents the best of humanity. However, to get back to the topic at hand, there is a darker side to this movie. We start off with the plight of a young child actor during filming. Young George Bailey was portrayed by actor Robert Anderson. Aged 12 at the time of filming, he was physically assaulted multiple times to get the perfect shot. Can you imagine this now? Every time I watch this scene, it gives me the chills, knowing that the abuse there was real. Robert passed away in 2008, but in 1996 he gave an interview to the LA Times where he described the scene with the drunk pharmacist Mr. Gower, portrayed by the famous silent actor H.B. Warner. Distraught over the sudden death of his son, Mr. Gower would have poisoned a child had it not been for the actions of George Bailey. Anderson remembers that Warner, a true method actor, began drinking early on the shooting day. Capra let him do this until he got to the point where he could record. It's an intense moment when Mr. Gower delivers those whacks to the young George's trick ear. He actually blooded my ear, Anderson recalls. We rehearsed, and as the day progressed, the louder and more demanding HB got. We'd rest for a little while, I'd go back to school, they'd bring me back out, and we'd spar a little more. Near the end of the day, cameras rolled. This time, Anderson recalls, Stewart was stood next to Capra, both eyeing the big moment with great expectation, and it took just minutes to capture one of the film's most disturbing scenes. I can't quite watch it now, I always have to look away. Anderson says this was Capra's way of getting it to the Academy Award. My ear was beat up and my face was red and I was in tears, and I knew when I went through the door of that drugstore to go behind those pill boxes I was going to get knocked on my butt, and it was an emotional high. I wanted to add that H.B. Warner comforted Anderson straight after this scene was recorded. But wow, just think, this couldn't happen now, or it just wouldn't happen now. Thankfully, this must have been terribly traumatic for the child. Pharmacist Gower's son's death at college is attributed to influenza in the telegram that young George reads, dated May the 3rd, 1919. 1919 was the second year of the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, which was widely spread on the filthy battlefields of the First World War, claiming millions of lives around the world. During the filming of It's a Wonderful Life, James Stewart was actively suffering from PTSD and depression due to his service in World War II. Stewart told friends that he related a lot to the character of George Bailey. Some of the scenes where George acted out in anger was considered cathartic for Stewart and his struggles with mental health. Actor Lionel Barrymore convinced James Stewart to take the role of George Bailey, despite his feelings that he was not up to it so soon after returning from the war. While filming the scene in which George prays in the bar, James Stewart was so overcome that he began to sob. Frank Capra later reframed and blew up this shot because he wanted to catch that expression on Stewart's face. This is why that shot looks a little grainy compared with the rest of the film.
God. Oh, God. Dear Father in heaven, I'm not a praying man, but if you're up there and you can hear me, show me the way. I'm at the end of my rope. Show me the way. Oh, God.
Two of the writers called the finished film horrid and refused to see it when it was released. The only one of Clifford Odets' ideas to appear in the finished script was George preventing Mr. Gower from mistakenly dispensing poison instead of medication. One of the reasons that this film underperformed during its original release in 1946 may have been the fact that 7 years earlier, James Stewart starred in a film with an almost identical title. That film, It's a Wonderful World, may have influenced the movie-going public to stay away. under the mistaken belief that It's a Wonderful Life was a reissue of that earlier film. Although It's a Wonderful Life initially received mixed reviews, and, I can't believe I'm saying this, was unsuccessful at the box office, it became a Christmas classic after its copyright lapsed in 1974, and it fell into the public domain, which allowed it to be broadcast without licensing or royalty fees. Is It's a Wonderful Life one of your Christmas favourites?
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.